Mr. Bout, thank you so much for finding the time to give us this interview. It's a real honor to meet you and be able to talk about, just to sit down and with you and discuss some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. The first thing I'm really interested in understanding is basically it's been around a year since the exchange happened, since you made it back to Russia from an American prison. How is your life here in Russia? How's it going?
Well, the past week was exactly a year. On 8th of December when I reached Russia, 7th, it was the date when they released me from the USP Marion. Well, it was a very fantastic year for me. First of all, you can't even describe what you feel when you're coming back to your family, to your mom, to your loved one, to your wife, to your daughter, and just getting back to normal life. Though I came back during what's going on, and this was very interesting how the Russia changed for these years, how the society changed. It was very amazing 1 year for me.
And what are some of those changes that you noticed specifically?
Well, Moscow tremendously changed for past 15 years during my absence. And St. Petersburg and many other cities, I was lucky to have a chance to travel around Russia and see what's really going on. It's a lot of construction going on. It's a lot of improvement in infrastructure, public transport. Mainly now, almost in every Russian city, you can have same services you have access in Moscow or St. Petersburg. People very proactively using smartphone technology. Look, bureaucracy, how drastically it's changed with the introduction of this service where now everything you need from government, you can go to Gosuslugi, this, one app on your smartphone and have everything from your passport request, registration, taxes, medical, name it, including your driving license and car registration. It's amazing and very, very impressive for me.
And what have you been up to since you got back? What have you been doing for work? Any projects you're working on?
Well, it's naturally after such kind of the absence and the condition I was, it was necessary some transitional period, which maybe lasted, 3 months before you just get used how even to use the smartphone. It took me a while before you can understand the logic, because when they arrested me, it was not even available yet. So, and understand, just relax, be yourself. I'm very grateful that I had a chance to, again, travel around Russia, travel to Siberia, travel to the, other places, to the south, to the Grozny, and see everything with your own eyes. To understand what's going on, talk to normal people. Not only what you can see on the TV channels, the truth usually is a more deep and more sharp contrast than what you can see or read in a newspaper. So for me, this was a very, very productive and very important year.
Well, of course, speaking of news, one of the biggest news stories of the year is, of course, the Ukraine conflict going on right now, and we're right now in the Donetsk People's Republic. I wanted to ask you what you've seen so far, what kind of plans you have for here. What do you think about the situation going on right now in general?
Donald, let's start that this is not really Ukraine conflict. It's a stand-up between the collective West, how now it's dubbed the term NATO plus whatever coalition they gather it, and Russia. I see it more as a conflict for the future of the humanity, because in this conflict we're not just defending our people in Donbass and in Zaporozhye or Kherson who wanted to be with us, who historically, like the rest of Ukraine, is center of our civilization, of our historical memory, where our families are so deeply intertwined, deeply mixed. You can't really split us. We are the same people, happen to be splitted by the policy of the Bolsheviks and forceful Ukrainization started from 30s and so-called breakdown of Soviet Union, where elites decided that it would be easy to steal, easy to organize a huge corruption scheme when they would be acting alone as independent fiefdom. Look what such policy lead to what result in Ukraine. So this is a conflict where we're not just fighting our people. For us, it's more like a civil war. Why? Because the both trenches speaking on the same language. If you listen to the radio intercept, all the commands of Ukrainian army, you write in Russian, correct? This is their language which they speak at their homes, including their president, including all their bosses. We have to do it for the future of humanity. We have to eradicate these flares up of Nazis, which was not finished on the end of the World War II. You know, they survived, and the West intentionally now trying to shift a goalpost to normalize Nazism, to normalize, anything, because they're trying, nothing wrong to be with a Bandera, what is it? It's their national hero. Hell no. He is Nazi collaborator. He killed more Jews than anybody else, including the war's SS divisions. And now the West, who used to be our ally, are going and heroizing them, admitting the hero like happened in the Canadian Parliament. Give me a break. So here we see this as a important fight for the values of humanity, for the conservative values, for the family, for the traditional faith, and for that children can grow in normal society, where the boys know they are boys and girls knows that they are girls, and not being confused by the teachers who are gonna, tell her, oh, maybe you feel like a, girl, a boy, okay, try to this dress and don't tell to your parents. If they're gonna, do something to you, tell us, we're gonna arrest them. And this is where, for us, it's difficult, but as we have from our past and our history, Russian people in these moments are uniting. Our society, like never before, took this very personally. I would say that there is no single village in this country, no single small town, not even saying about big towns, who would not volunteering, who would not collecting stuff necessary for our soldiers on the front lines, who would not do anything they can, whether it would be knitting the woolen socks, or doing the mask nets, or preparing, getting for the soldiers any assistance they have. It's really a now great patriotic war again for us, for Russia.
I find it interesting that you mentioned that, of course, a lot of people in Ukraine are still speaking Russian, of course, and Zelensky, I just want to mention, is obviously no exception, of course. You know as well, he was, before he became president of Ukraine, he was a super popular comedian in Russia specifically.
That's exactly.
He did his skits in Russian, and a lot of people say he doesn't even speak Ukrainian very well. On that topic, I'd like to get your thoughts a bit on how you see this conflict going into the future, because, with recent developments in terms of potential divisions between Zelensky, or not potential, but actual divisions between Zelensky and his generals, right? That recently have become public knowledge. That his general Zaluzhny was saying that the counteroffensive had hit a brick wall. Zelensky didn't want to admit it publicly. Now Zelensky's talking about going from an offensive attitude towards a defensive attitude, starting to admit that obviously this counteroffensive isn't going the way people expected it. Where do you think the future of this conflict is going to go? Is it going to drag out? Is there going to be some sort of civil war, coup d'etat within Ukraine itself? What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, the puppet masters are more important than the puppets themselves. We're talking about Zelensky, Zaluzhny. Look, Zaluzhny it doesn't matter. What is matter, what the script for them was written by their puppet masters and owners of that puppet theater. And what's going on, there is a fight between Zaluzhny and Zelensky. Sorry, I'm not taking that, right? Everything is very careful, orchestrated to distract attention and eventually to get, exit ramp. Because they realize they can't, suffocate Russia with economic sanction, number one. They can't destabilize Russia. And unfortunately, their bets on Navalny was kind of, went, south. So, plus Russian industry start now outperforming on quantities collective military industry of the NATO. So this is a trend, and we didn't need to, invent, a wheel. Look on the World War II. Soviet Union start winning Nazi Germany when Soviet industry start outperforming German war machine by producing more tanks, more efficient planes, more efficient rounds. We are exactly on the same processes. And it's very important that our command and our president are not rushing our soldiers by any means occupy this territory. We're fighting not to occupy territory. The scope of this conflict is, first of all, and they don't change according to the recent announcement of our president just a couple of days ago, is to really remove a threat to the existence of our country, and at the same time protect a choice, not only of Russia, but on the entire world, to choose its own destiny, not to be dictated, not to be bossed around, not to be robbed by unjust financial and the trade system which exists now. And apparently, surprise, surprise, Russia is not only, gas station masquerading as a country. Yeah? Apparently, it's quite important role in the food stability in the world, in the fertilizer system, in the metals, in the earth material, and a bunch of other stuff which, they didn't realize. So now here, entire humanity watching how we're coming to moment of truth. And whether now United States will willing to sit on the table and discuss a new just world order, or the rest of the country will do it without, United States and the colonies of United Europe, and then they have just to be, as a, agreeing what other old nations would decide about future of the world. That's why a BRICS becoming very popular. That's why all other regional organizations become also very important, and that's why the globalist has a huge failure. Of course, they will not go away without fighting, and it will be fierce fighting. We do realize that. But there is a hope for humanity. There is a hope for all the rest of the world. Who knows? We're now seeing a new era where it wouldn't be any dominance of one country, wouldn't be any world policeman acting on their behalf, setting up the rules and having this hypocrisy, using the international law only when it suits us, but not you. So you see, like they used to say, justice, it's just for us, not for you. So I guess era of this is over.
Well, what would you say, because you mentioned obviously the puppet masters are more important than Zelensky or Zaluzhny, but what would you say is, in your opinion, the end game that the West sees in the Ukraine conflict right now? Because it doesn't look like things are going well for Ukraine. I mean, do you think they even thought that it would be possible for Ukraine to win at all? Like, what's the point of continuing this endless flow of money and weapons into this meat grinder that's just taking the lives of hundreds?
Well, first of all, you're killing Russian people on the both sides of this. That's important for them. Just to, it's a, I don't know, in their DNA to feel that Russia is a threat to these global elites who are trying to eradicate us. Divide our country into 1,000 small pieces because it would be easy to deal with, easy to corrupt, easy to control, easy to use natural resources. That's number one. Second, I don't see they don't understand what is end game. No. Idea is here is just let a presidential election cycle in America take a play, because think of this. If reality would be admitted now, and they just decide, okay, look, let's just, stop bleeding now, then there is a lot of political consequences, ramification for those elites who started this conflict, So they're going to keep it alive at least till the presidential election is over in the United States. And then they're going to find out a exit strategy. And eventually Zelensky, unfortunately, going to end up like, usually United States allied bosses are ending up with a, hole in their head in a trench or burned out somewhere. Well, United States has a good track record, how they, taking care about their, loyal puppets.
Well, staying on the question of American elections, if Donald Trump gets reelected in the next election cycle, do you think there's a good chance that that will be the death blow to U.S. Financial and weapons support to Ukraine?
Well, let's not or overestimate capacity of the presidential office in the United States. Look, Donald Trump already was in office for 4 years. He tried his best to do something, some changes, but deep state are so entrenched, so they quickly limited his capacity to do anything, positive for the country. Though he could achieve way more, but unfortunately, it stops there. You remember the meeting with Putin in Helsinki, and how the Donald Trump was, then walking back his words. So, here United States are ruled not by the decision of the president himself. I guess that the swamp or deep states has its own plans, and usually the president has to very carefully navigate this deep state. How not to get, really into the big trouble like JFK got once he really started pissing them off.
All right, well, Viktor, that's all the questions I have for you. Once again, thank you very much
for
giving us this interview.